Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So, with the new Walking Dead Definitive series coming out next month, I will be playing it and uploading videos of it to my channel. But before I do that, I thought I would go over each of Clementine's seasons that she's in, 1, 2, A New Frontier, and the final season, and discuss what ones I believe were the worst and the best, because I haven't really done a video about this, but I'm pretty sure you can already guess what the worst one is. So, but anyways, we're going to start with the worst series and then move to the best series. Now, I want you all to know this is just my opinion. You all have your own opinions, so obviously that some of them may differ from mine, some of them you may agree with me, but it's just a matter of opinion. This is not to be taken seriously. This is just what I believe. So anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Now, those of you who have seen me play the Walking Dead games on my channel, you should know how much I hate The Walking Dead A New Frontier. And then this is actually pretty interesting because I've played a bunch of games in my time, okay? Because I'm 21. My birthday is actually this month on the 26th, so I'll be 22. And there are some games I just love, I like. Some of them they're like, nah, okay. Some of them I'm not really a fan of. But this game right here is the first one that I ever truly hated. Now, when I say hate a game, this isn't like in general. I mean, there are games, there are games from each company that I like and dislike and that, but this is the first time I've ever really hated a game. And the reasons I don't think I need to go over, but I'm going to go over them anyway. Now, the first one is the length of the episodes. Each episode only goes for an hour and a half. Now, as you know, there are 4 episodes. Technically, there are 5, but I consider episode 1, part 1, and part 2 to be one episode entirely. So the New Frontier has 4 episodes. Now, episode 1 part 1 and part 2 combined. That's what I'm going off in case you're confused. Episode 1 can go for over 2 hours, while episode 2, 3, and 4 only goes for an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half, and that is complete bullshit. Okay, I mean, to be honest, I don't even think Telltale was trying at this point. Like, this game is really just another cash grab. Oh, it's got Clementine in it. Okay, we're gonna sell this we're gonna milk this as much as we can and do as little work as possible. And they really did little work. Like, I mean, the characters in this, there's hardly any I like, okay? Because most of the characters in this, I either dislike or hate. Gabe being the second hatest character, but he was originally my first, but it's actually been changed to Clementine. Now, I know what you're gonna think. How can I hate Clementine? It's not that I hate Clementine as a character. I love her. She's amazing. I just hate her character in this because if you remember when you start the game, if you do go to the story generator, it's like, okay, you got to do all these choices. That's if you haven't played the game and you want to create your own backstory for it. And so it's like, okay, we're gonna go over this. What did you do? What type of person was Clementine? And it basically tells you what she is. Like, what type of person was she? Was she nice? Was she like putting her own survival first, putting people before her own needs, whatever? But no, this is, and I'm leaving a link in the description below. It's from this YouTube channel, DNM 104, and this video shows all the determinate ending lines and scenes in The Walking Dead, because ultimately our choices really didn't matter when you look at season 2. Like, our choices did matter, but in this game they don't mean shit. Like, what do we get? We don't get Kenny or Jane. We don't see them interact with these other characters. All we get is a scar. All we get is Clementine having a scar on her head and cheek. She can miss a finger or get AJ tattooed on her hand, and that's it. After we put all this effort into the game, that's what we're rewarded with for our choices in season 2. For making, like, it wasn't really a tough choice for me, because I'm like, yeah, Kenny, I love you, buddy, I'm not gonna shoot you. I didn't press anything. I put the controller down. I was like, nah, I'm not shooting Kenny, don't you dare. And and he killed Jane, I was like, oh, okay, so he doesn't have to die. Alright, that's good. And then I stayed with him, and I didn't enter Wellington, but now, looking at it, the best ending for Season 2, really, is to stay in Wellington, because let's face it, you shoot Kenny, you leave Jane, she's gonna kill herself anyway because she's pregnant. And I always found this, and I always believed, I still believe that that's stupid. Jane is a resourceful person. She's smart, crafty, manipulative. Like, not in a bad way. It's like how she manipulates Troy. But I guess how when she manipulates you into shooting Kenny, I guess that can see as bad. I mean, that was bullshit to me. That plan was stupid. But like, what's stupid is allowing herself to get pregnant and then hanging herself. I mean, Telltale clearly wasn't thinking with long term. Like, it's like the people. It's like, you know what? No, we're gonna completely change this character over. We don't care how you people see her. It's how we see her. We're gonna do what we want, and you're gonna keep paying us money. And what's interesting is that Kenny, in the original ending for him in the New Frontier, he was going to kill himself as well, which is completely bullshit as well, because I can see Kenny killing himself if, in Season 2, Clementine doesn't stay with him after he's killed Jane. I can see him killing himself because he doesn't have Clem or AJ, he's got nothing left, no Sarita. I can see him ending his life there, but ending his life when he's with Clementine, I'm thankful that that wasn't included, okay? Now, another thing is Clementine as a whole. The reason, like, I hate her in this is because when you're playing as her in the flashback scenes, the choices at all, every choice that you make for her does not matter in the long run. Whether you inject AJ with a medicine or not, whether you decide to go with what was her name? Ah, God. Ava, that's it. I was thinking, is it Anya? It's like, no, that's not Anya. No, it's Ava. And it's like, whether you choose to part as friends or enemies, it leads up to nothing. It's like in Season 2 with Luke and Kenny, where they were at each other's throats, and you could tell, like, it was building up since Episode 2, but Episode 5, we got nothing. Now, that was because the writers, they couldn't figure out how to get them to fight one another. But the episode 5 was still good, even though we didn't get that fight, which is one of the things I'm disappointed about in Season 2, but it still panned off good. Like how Jane came back and fought with Kenny, I thought that was just as good, but I wish we could have seen Luke and Kenny fight. But no, what happens to Ava? She either dies in episode 2, she either dies in episode 3 or episode 4. When I say episode 3 and 4, I'm meaning obviously episode 4 and 5, but like I said, I consider episode 1, part 1 and part 2, you know, just as a singular episode. Yeah, and I gotta say, I'm very disappointed with what they decided to do at the end of the game. So they were like, the whole point of the ending of A New Frontier was Clementine was going to go search for AJ. So that would have been the next game. We would have played as Clementine, and we would have been searching for AJ, okay? And I believe it. I did hear some things. Apparently, if David left, if he was alive, this is if Clementine and Javier go after Gabe and David. If you told David to keep walking, he would have ended up at McCarroll Ranch, where Clementine was looking for AJ, and Clint or Joan would have ended up there as well. And if Harvey goes after Gabe and Clementine decides to go with Kate, we know she ends up missing. Originally, what was going to happen was that Joan or Clint would have taken Kate as a hostage. And so, I don't know too much about the details, but the whole point of the next game, I guess you could say it would be the final season. The whole point would be, as Clementine, are you going to take AJ with you even though he's happy and bring him back to A New Frontier where you can be with him? Or are you going to put your own happiness aside and let him stay where he is and let him be happy? Like what Kenny was trying to do for Clementine and AJ in Season 2. They all couldn't get into Wellington, so Kenny was like, just take the kids. And you had a choice. Were you going to stay in Wellington, or were you going to go with Kenny? And I'll say it again, Wellington is the best option if you want to keep Kenny alive. So yeah, so those are really the reasons why I don't really like it. The poor writing, the just god awful characters, and honestly, Javier, I didn't really like him as a protagonist much because I don't know, I didn't like it. Look at it this way: if they split the playtime between Javier and Clementine, like what happened in Tales from the Borderlands, then that I would have been okay with that, because even though if they still killed off Kenny and Jane the way they did, it would have been great to give Clementine more freedom, more, you play as her more, and so that way it feels like what you're doing as Clementine matters and your choices matter. Because Tales from the Borderlands, that's one of my favorite games. Okay, I really did enjoy it, which is weird because I'm not a fan of the Borderlands games. I don't hate them. I like the story. I just never really got into all the gameplay in that. But it really is a pretty fun game. I don't play it by myself. I've played it with a friend, so I don't really play the games alone. I mean, they're alright if you just want to kill time or something. I'm not putting shit on them. I'm just saying that's just what I think. Okay, not everybody has to like the same game or hate the same game. It's your opinion. That's what this video is about. Opinion. And speaking of opinion, really, I gotta say, the New Frontier really has no place canonically in the game, at least for me. I know they got Jesus in the game, and the games are centered in the comic book universe, but ultimately, what good does this do? It's basically, once we go there, once you play this game, that's it. We're never gonna know what happens to this cast of characters. Okay, the ones that die, we know what happened to them. We Gabe, David, Kate, they can die. We know this. Conrad, Trip, Clint, Joan, Francine, Badger. Just we do know what can happen to these characters, but Richmond, we all we know is that the reason Clementine doesn't come back to Richmond is because there's a war brewing, and they're fighting against another community, which is very cryptic. Okay, it's is this community they're fighting against lilies? I don't think so, because I think Clementine is just driving away and away, and she would have kept on driving to get away from Richmond and McCarroll Ranch. So, yeah, so this is my reasons on why I do not like A New Frontier and why it is the worst in the series. Now, before I go on to which game I believe is the third best in Clementine's story, I want to actually bring this up real quick about A New Frontier. Now, there is a YouTuber named Darth Mawrak who is not a fan of A New Frontier and how it played out, and has decided to make his own version of The Walking Dead Season 3. And it does have a similar story with A New Frontier, but it is completely different. I'm going to be leaving a link to his YouTube channel in the description below, along with a link to the website that you can take a look at, which will tell you more about the game and what it's about and how he plans to make it better than A New Frontier. But you should actually be able to see bits of the video now, actually, because that's what's playing. But and honestly, even though I know some of you will be like, oh no, these graphics aren't good, but honestly, for me, I don't care about graphics. I love a good story, and if Darth Mawrak, and I believe that Darth Mawrak will make the game he's making will be better than A New Frontier, because if he's confident enough to make a game, then I believe that he will make it better than A New Frontier. Or maybe not, depending on how you see things, but honestly, I'm very interested in seeing this game, and I do believe it will be better than A New Frontier. Okay, now, moving on. Now, I know what you're going to say. The Walking Dead, the final season, that was great. It was great. The first 2 episodes were great, but as we all know, Telltale went bankrupt and they had to get shut down, and the game was picked up by Skybound. And personally, the episode 3 was all right, but episode 4 ultimately was a letdown. I mean, like for one thing, like I gotta say, one of the biggest issues I have is the fact that they made us think that Clementine died. Like they gave us that cheap cop out, made her face look like Lee's did. I guess you could say that when she got bit, she lost a lot of blood because the leg she got bit on was the one that was sliced by Minerva with the axe, and so when she got bit, the infection probably was bleeding out. I've done actually a theory video on this, like maybe depending on how strong of an immune system you have determines how long you'll survive a bite, or how sooner you'll die rather than later. But like, because I cried, okay, I'm not gonna shit you, okay, I'm not gonna bullshit you people. When I was playing this, I cried. My mum came in, and then she thought like I hurt myself, and I was screaming. I was like, "Get out of here! It's an emotional episode." You can actually find it in my walkthroughs for episode 4 of my save file 1. If you go on YouTube and check my playlist, you'll see it. So, like, one of the things I have the issue with, like, main issues is AJ, because this game was, like, meant to be, like, your actions define who AJ is and what he'll become, but ultimately, he is still the same. Like, nothing you really say or do matters in the end. He will be his own person. Like, cause like when episode 4 starts up, he's like, Clem's been telling me things, and it's like, and I've started thinking for myself that maybe she's not always right. And even what happens with Marlon, you tell AJ what he did, whether it was murder or it was justified, he'll be like, killing Marlon was the right thing to do. He was a bad person. He's like, it was murder, but the world's different, so words can be different. He's basically decided to stop listening to Clem and start thinking for himself. So it's not like in season 1 where when we play as Lee and we're guiding Clementine, it's a completely different scenario. In my opinion, it's basically useless. Like, it's not really worth doing. There's, no matter what choice you make, AJ is going to turn out the same. Like, like with Marlon when AJ shoots him, like, you get that little dialogue choice. What? I aim for the head. I save the last bullet for me. You know, depending on what you say, determines what line he uses at the end. But that's really it. There's nothing else. Like, even when AJ's like, I'm sorry, goes in episode 2 early on, he's like, I'm sorry I murdered everyone, or he's like, I'm sorry I murdered Marlon, everyone, or he can be like, Clementine told me what I did was justified. Now these, in episode 1 and 2, these moments were making sense, like you were teaching him what to do, but after Telltale went bankrupt and that, I believe the episodes, even though they were good, got poor in quality. So what really should have happened for episode 1 was that after Clementine disarms Marlon and has AJ's gun, or if he drops it to the floor, Clementine should pick it up, and there should be a fourth option to shoot Marlon. And by shooting Marlon, you could see everyone would be shocked, and it would play out in a similar event. And AJ could be like, Clem, he was defenseless. Why did you kill him? And you could be like, I shouldn't have done that. It was a mistake. Or you could be like, yeah, it was murder. Or maybe like Marlon would have come back to hurt us. It's like I couldn't trust Marlon to keep his word and leave. He could go and join the Raiders and help them abduct us. And that would really be interesting to see that, and how everyone would react, especially Lewis, because you know he freaks out because AJ killed Marlon. But it'd be interesting to see how, because when he meets Clementine, he likes her instantly and has a crush on her. So it'd be interesting to see how that would work out if Clementine was the one that shot Marlon. But I gotta say, like, in episode 4, the one thing I did love was that bridge scene where you're fighting Minerva. That was amazing. That has got to be the best fight scene in all of the games. Now, one of the other problems I had with the final season is how Lily was presented in episode 2. Now, like, because I know, like, oh, why do I keep saying like? I have no idea. Alright, anyways, I'm getting off topic. Let's get back on topic right now. So, as we all know, we meet Lily in season 1, episode 1. And in episode 3, depending on who you've saved, determines who she shoots. If you saved Carly, Lily will be pissed off at Carly for standing up to her, and like her anger at losing her dad and her grief, and her believing that Carly was working with the bandits, so she shoots her. With Doug, on the other hand, it is an accident. When she tries to kill Ben, Doug sacrifices himself to save Ben, and well, you know, that happens, and you can tell that Lily regrets it. Whereas with Carly, she's like, there I go saying like again. She goes, she couldn't be trusted, Lee, and if she shot Doug, it's like, I didn't mean to shoot him, Lee, it was an accident. And then you leave her on the side of the road, and everyone's like, oh no, she's a bad person for doing that. But like, why do I keep saying like? Take a look at Kenny, okay? He was going to try and murder Jane, for example. Now, I always side with Kenny, so you know, I fucking love Kenny. Now, Jane wanted to prove to Clementine that Kenny was dangerous, so sorry, getting tongue-tied. So she hid AJ in an abandoned car. And she's going, oh no, AJ died, I tried to help him. And Kenny loses his shit, and he goes off at her. Now, to be fair, she was manipulating them both, like, and what Kenny says is true. She could have stopped the fight by saying he was fine. She wanted Clementine to kill him. Like, even, she's got him, it's like, she's lying on the ground, Kenny's got the knife, and he's going to kill her. She could have said, no, AJ's alive, he's in the car, but she didn't. She wanted Clementine to shoot him. And so, really, like it's another situation there. If you don't shoot Kenny, then he's going to murder Jane, and you can choose to forgive him for what he's done and move on. You can even be like, why do I keep saying like? I don't know. You can even be going to him. You were right about Jane. She was unstable, always looking out for herself. But with Carly, but with Lily, it's like season 1 doesn't even matter. There are a few mentions, like she mentions Lee, and she mentions Carly and Doug, depending on who's alive, and she also mentions whether or not she was left behind, or if she stole the RV. But all in all, they just make it this general bad guy, this raider. And honestly, that, I gotta say, I was disappointed. I believe it was a waste of her character, a waste of potential, and it really should have been handled a lot better. Because that was just, in my opinion, Lily was poorly written, and there could have been so much done up. But there could have been so much done for her. But what I did like in episode 3 was when she's talking about Larry, and we get a little more into her backstory. I did like hearing that, how she was leaving on the lights, and so Larry cut the power, and after that she learned her lesson and never left the lights on. That was pretty interesting to know, and I do believe that that's one of those actions there, like what he did in the past, kind of shaped her into the woman she is now. And speaking of people, let's talk about Lewis real quick. Now, when you come back to the school, you see Lewis there, and you can like when you're talking to him, you can be like, I don't like you anymore, or you can be like, fuck you, Lewis. But ultimately, you're still friends with him. You're still friends with everyone. Take Ruby and Mitch for example. When I can understand how Mitch is pissed, but when you go to burn the body of that teacher, there's one that decided to stay behind and help the students. You can choose to burn it, or that's one of the options, burn it, or bury it. Well, I guess it's her. And depending on, if you choose burn her, Mitch will be like, okay, I'm changing my vote, I want you to stay, and Ruby will be pissed. But if not, then Ruby is like, thank you for bearing her, she deserved better, and Mitch is like, whatever. And then we get that flash forward 2 weeks later. Why couldn't the 2 weeks later thing, we see Mitch and Ruby, and depending on what choice you made at the greenhouse, determines whether or not they like you. You know what I mean? Nah, they're just still kind of friendly in their own way. It's really stupid. And I guess another thing it's kind of stupid is this whole game is making you pick between Lewis and Violet. It's like, who do you want to be friends with? Who do you want to be in a romance with? Like, we need to, like, why do we have to, why does this game force us to be friendly, okay? Like, that's what, if we ever get another Walking Dead game like this, we need to have the option to be antisocial in that. You know, like how Molly was, how Jane was. She didn't really, the only person she really interacted with was Clementine. I know she had sex with Luke, but that was really it. She wasn't up to talking to people, getting to know them, being friendly. She was just, okay then, I'll stay with yous, but I'm doing my own thing. Okay, so stay out of my way, I'll stay out of yours, I'll help you, but that doesn't mean I have to like you, or be your friend. So that's really one of the issues I have with this game. Like, forcing us to be in friendships with people, even though we don't want to. Okay, so let's move on to the second game now, because I believe that's everything I've covered, but this is just my opinion, okay? Just my opinion. Let me know what you think about these opinions in the comments below. Alright, so let's move on to number 2. Okay, so my second favorite is The Walking Dead Season 2. Now, this game was... sorry if I was going to sneeze there. So this game was really... I remember when I first saw the first episode, this was... because I used to get the games on disc. Because I used to watch the episodes on YouTube. I watched Season 1 and 2 on YouTube, but when the New Frontier came out, I was playing them digitally, because I didn't have internet at home. So... when episode 1 came out, I remember it clearly because I was actually at Summernats. It was a pretty cool place. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So, I remember watching this, and I was surprised to be playing as Clementine, because I remember it showed that trailer where it's got Clementine when she was 8 and 9, and then it jumped forward showing her older, which is 11. And I thought when it showed Omid and Krista, I thought we were going to play as either Omid or Krista. Well, not me, but the person playing the game was going to play as Omid and Krista. You know what I mean, basically. But to my surprise, we were playing as Clementine. I was like, wait, what? What's going on? And I really do enjoy that. I really did enjoy playing her. And really, I got to say, for shock value, this one, Season 2 for me is really, like, it has a lot of like shocks, twists, and turns, and some of the best choices in all of the seasons. Like, one of the ones I really did like was how they handled Nick. Like, you could, like, because he tries to kill Clementine, and then he goes up and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, and you can be like, okay, I accept your apology. Or you can be like, you can choose not to forgive him and just be an absolute ass. Even in episode 2, this is my favorite choice. This is one of the choices I absolutely love. When Walter finds out that when Walter finds the knife in Clementine's backpack and he realizes that Matthew's dead, and he's like, Nick killed him, didn't he? And you can be like, I don't know what you're talking about, or yes, it was us, Nick shot him. And then Walter will be like, is Nick a good man, or is he an asshole looking out for yourself? And if you say Nick is an asshole, then when he's being attacked by a walker, Walter will do nothing and just watch him get his throat bitten out. And I remember seeing that, I was like, what? And it's kind of like, it isn't kind of like, it is, you have Nick's fate in your hands, and you ultimately kill him. And one of the things I did like was, you didn't have to like Luke either. He was just this guy you're talking to. Like, I remember in episode 3 when he shows up, you can punch him. It's like, and you can argue with him, and And even there's like, because since episode 2, him and Kenny have this rivalry going on, which sadly did not happen in episode 5 because the writers couldn't figure out how to do it, which is disappointing. I mean, the way they could have done it was like, if you were with Kenny and you sided with him in episode 4, saying we have to leave the next day, he could probably get angry and start yelling at Kenny, saying Rebecca's dead because of him. But if you decided to side with Luke and say wait a couple of days, Kenny could get mad at Luke and saying if we left sooner, she'd still be alive. Her death is on your hands, and really that could have just what kick-started off these events. And then they're like, and then maybe it's like, I'm not gonna let you get Clementine killed the way you got Rebecca killed, and the both of them are just fighting over like trying to figure out what's best for Clementine in their own point of view, you know. But anyways, like one of my other favorite choices was just watching Kenny kill Carver. I really think this was a defining moment in Clementine's life. And it's actually mentioned in the final season when you ask, in episode 1, when you ask what's the grossest injury that everyone's ever saw, you can be like, I watched a guy get his face caved in, and 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 I think it was Lewis who said like gross or something, and Clementine can be like, nah, he deserved it. There was like, and even after that, when not after that, sorry, but when in episode 4 of season 2, Luke can bring it up. If you keep siding with Kenny, he used to be like, you watched your friend murder Carver, and Clem can be going like, well, not be going like, Clementine can say Carver deserved what happened to him. And this was like season 2, it was building up what type of person she would be, but then the new frontier came and fucked that up. And the final season, while we still made choices, it just wasn't the same. Like, we got to play as we obviously get to play as Clem again in the final season, but it really wasn't like season 2 where she was young and the world was, and she had so much growing up to do, and the world was like, and she had to grow up fast, even though she was so young, and had to make all these difficult choices. That's what's disappointing, to see that all that hard work just thrown away with A New Frontier and the final season. It was really very disappointing, and hopefully, if there's a new Walking Dead game with a new set of characters, they don't fuck it up with their new character. Which I hope is a kid, that'd be pretty cool. But okay, moving on to which I'm pretty sure you already know what the number one favorite game, in my opinion, is, what the best one is, because it's the last one on the list. And finally, we have number 1, The Walking Dead Season 1. Now, I think most of, if not all of you, will agree with me that this right here, this game, is where everything started, where it was picked up. Like, because this game is actually what put Telltale on the map. And I remember, I actually saw this game in 2013. I remember when I first saw it, I was in Queensland at my aunt's house, and I was actually watching a video that was made by Tobashkus. So yeah, I know. So yeah, it's because of him I know about this game. So like, is Tobashkus still a thing? Because I remember he was big when I was a kid. But nah, I don't know. Is he? Like, I have to look up his channel after this and just have a look, see what he's doing. Yeah. So anyways, this game was great. It's when the apocalypse just starting, when walkers are roaming around, and you got people, they're trying to keep the semblance of humanity and civilization, but no, it's ultimately all falling apart. It's like at the end of episode 1, you hear about the army, and Kenny's like, I hope that's the sound of us winning this thing. And he's even mentioning at Herschel's farm the government will give out flu shots or whatever to stop this, but no, it doesn't. And this game really presented hard choices, like when Duck got bit, who shoots him? Like, that was really a tough one for me, because I was like, I don't want Kenny to have to do it. I don't want Katja to do it, but I don't want to do it. And this was a really tough choice. And like, one of them for me, the toughest choice in this game was whether or not to have Clementine shoot Lee or leave him, because I'm playing this. I'm like, do I want to preserve her innocence? But she also has to grow up at the same time. So if she shoots, there's no going back. So what am I gonna do? I really don't know. It was like it is an amazing game. It still lives up to all the expectations that I had when I was a kid. And those expectations are still with me even when I'm playing this game. And I'm looking forward to playing it again because I've actually got pre-ordered the Telltale Definitive Edition, so I will be playing that. But that comes out September 10th. I've ordered it online. I haven't ordered it on the PlayStation or Xbox store. I ordered the disc online, so that way I can have two copies because in case because I'm game sharing with a friend, so if I have no internet, I can't play it online. But if you have the games that are on disc, you don't need to be connected to the internet to play them. It's just you got to be connected to the internet to play them when you're off, when you're playing digital games. Even if they're offline, you still have to be connected to the internet. So, anyways, that's really all I wanted to say about this game. Like, the Telltale series, one is by far the greatest, and if we ever do get another game series, Skybound needs to follow this example. They need to follow season 1 and 2. They need to, because like it all comes falling. It started in episode 4 where all our choices didn't really matter, and then you know what I mean. Just moving forward, there it was a disappointment. So really, everything from season 1 and up to season 2, episode 3, we need to have all those choices and consequences. We need that formula in a new Walking Dead game. And I for one would just love to see it because I'm not really looking forward to like. I know people want a season 5 because Skybound's still gonna make games, but they may not be focused on Clementine. Like we may even get one for Krista, Molly, and just other people that we've met and haven't seen. Like personally, what I think would have been cool is if, for example, Jane didn't come back. If Telltale managed to make it work with Kenny and Luke fighting, we could have gotten a standalone game of her and gone through her adventures and see what's happening. Now that would have been cool. Well, anyways, that's really all I have to talk about. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie signing off.